Alright, so I'm sure you've heard this many times, but sound design is so important when it comes to your projects. Not many people are paying attention to it. And what I've come to notice as a filmmaker is that sound can really, and I mean this like truly, can bring your story to life. There's so much magic that can come from just sound. I mean, you can look at an image and it might tell you some things, but as soon as you start adding sounds to it, it starts adding in all these different textures and depth and all these different ideas that you never even thought of in the first place. Recently, I just did my new short film, Finding the Light of Natha. I had so much fun going to town with the sound design. Truly, I did so many different things, and it gave me so much flexibility and freedom to really tell the story and really enhance it to levels I didn't even think was possible. So in this video, I want to go through a particular scene and sequence with some very interesting sound designs, in my opinion, and just I want to break down what I did, how I did it, and basically I want to give you a realistic example of what the scene looked like and how just by adding some sound effects it really took it to a whole new level. There's definitely a few techniques, a few things you might want to think about, and perhaps by the end of this video maybe you'll learn something. So right now, let's go into the breakdown, shall we? Alright, so first I want to show you this clip. It's a nice little moment where our main character is kind of running away from the bad guy, and then the bad guy shows up all of a sudden, putting her at a huge disadvantage, and when all hope seemed lost, all of a sudden this magical figure just appeared out of nowhere to save the day. So obviously you're watching this clip and you're not hearing any sounds, just my voice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the clip with the original sound called right off camera or off mic. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mute it and start putting in all the individual sounds bit by bit until we get a full soundtrack at the very end.
Just like, I don't have an issue. I don't know where you. Oh, maybe I do have an issue. Oh, okay.
Good, look at him. Try and see what's
I
happening.
don't know where you. Oh, maybe I do have an issue. Oh, okay.
And then you're out. Alright, so now we want to start adding in some sound effects. So first I started off with our bad guy, the raider, and I wanted to give a lot of sounds just to really emphasize how bad he is and how dangerous he is without, visually having to do anything extravagant. We're just going to let the sound do all the telling. So when he throws his dust into the main character's face, we added a little bit of a boom. And then every time he takes a step, because it's in slow motion, I wanted to give that oomph to his steps as if it's like some big walking danger coming towards you and you feel vulnerable. So I added some plain sort of thumping. I added some thumping effects. I turned the pitch really low and I added a reverb just to give that little bit of oomph. So let's hear what that sounds like. Alright, next I want to start working on the sounds for our main protagonist, NIKA. Now, I'll have to admit that I wanted her to show a little more fear and frustration in the scene, and I just end up not recording any of that on the day of the shoot. I was more focused on just capturing the action and the performances, and I didn't think about the sound so much. It was a bit of a complication. So instead, I had to grab sounds of her gasping or whichever from sort of other moments in the movie and I had to bring them in here as additional sound effects. And of course, I also added some Foley of her as she's falling down and stuff like that. So once we start adding sounds for the main protagonist, NIKA, this is what it sounds like. All right, so now I want to start working on our mysterious angelic figure. So first off, there was some dialogue. There is dialogue that was voice recorded. I took that and wanted to do some editing, so pitched it down a little bit, added some reverb, added a lot of bass, and tried to mess around with dialogue. So here's what the dialogue sounded without the editing. Darse von nos, Shayna Kiran, NIKA, Korvenena Shay, Gart. And here's the dialogue with the edits. Darse von nos, Shayna Kiran, NIKA, Korvenena Shay, Gart. And then here it is in the context of the movie. Darse von nos, Shayna Kiran, NIKA, Korvenena Shay, Gart. And next I wanted to create a really powerful explosion entrance for this angelic figure. It's like the feeling and power of a deity is something that we need to get across on screen. So I basically messed around with this a little bit. I added some impact sounds. I took some thunder sounds from my library, messed around with editing. And so once we throw that in there, this is what we get. All right, now I want to look at the ambience. Now, because we're in a very small interior sort of room, there's not really that much ambience aside from maybe a room tone, but there is, of course, a lot of sounds taking place outside. There is essentially a battle and a massacre taking place, so I wanted to create an ambience for the scene where we were shooting that, plus something that would be really low for this scene, something kind of outside and in the distance. So this is what the ambience sounded like on its own. And then this is what the ambience sounds like in the scene. And then I found this rising sound effect. It's called a drone rising sound. And I just felt it was cool because it kind of increased like the intensity of the scene. You probably won't be able to hear in the final movie, but I think it's just kind of nice just to throw it in there just in case you can't pick it up. And I know this was a sound breakdown, but here's an example of what the clip sounds like without the sounds and just the music score itself. And now this is what it sounds like when we've taken everything we've worked on so far and put it all together.
Killer! NIKA, Corvei Nashe.
All right, now I'd just like to point out just a couple things. One, I am not a sound expert. I'm still learning and I'm still discovering this on my own. Two, I may have made it seem like sound design is extremely tedious. It's not always tedious. This one particular scene required a lot of sound work. Some scenes I didn't have to do any sound work at all. I just had the audio from the microphone. Some work's going to be heavy, some's not, but sound design in general is tedious, but it's not always going to be tedious. Three, try doing your own sound design. Like, I find this a lot of fun. You should honestly try it on your own. And four, if you're an expert, please just write something positive in the comments in a way so that all of us can learn. Please don't come at me and make fun of me and stuff like that. Again, I'm just learning. If you want, take what I say with a grain of salt, but I'm just showing you what I did. Okay, so I hope this breakdown helped you, and if it did, please let me know down in the comments. Please subscribe and like this button for the YouTube algorithm, and share this to other people who might want to learn a little bit about sound design. Enjoy yourself, take care, good luck with your projects, and I will see you next time.